A very warm welcome. And you're going to need a warm welcome if you're in Johannesburg at the moment because it is chilly. The temperature's dropping. We were just saying, as we think that spring is about to do its thing, winter says, sorry for you, it's not over yet. Anyway, weather aside, I'm Paul Rotherham. Well, I'm always Paul Rotherham. It's lovely to have you with us and welcome to this, another edition of the Coaching Hour podcast, where I'm joined, as you know by now, by Mary and Maré. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Good to have you with us. Be prepared for the chill that I believe is about to hit.
Absolutely. We'll try.
It's on the way. So good to have you with us for this, another edition of the Coaching Hour podcast, which, as you may or may not know, is brought to you in partnership with Coaches Network South Africa. And Maré, I will once again give you the honors of introducing this week's guest.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Yes, today we have a very interesting guest with us. We have Marthie Maré, she's a personal development coach. She uses face profiling and brain profiling as a tool to help you uncover your true self. She believes that this is the key to understanding your emotions, habits, and behaviors, which is essential for personal growth and reaching your full potential. And today's topic, we're going to talk about every face tells a story. So welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get into our topic, please tell our listeners and who's watching on YouTube as well, who's Marthie and how did you get into face profiling?
Good morning, Maré, and Paul and Mary and all the listeners. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Marthie Maré, and I can tell you that I got into this field by pure curiosity. I am a very curious person, and when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, what nonsense is this? How can you tell from a face what a person is all about? And then I started on a journey of research and ascertaining everything that I can get and put my hands on and read some books and been online for hours and days and months. And then I realized, wow, there's something to it. And then I started practicing it on everybody around me, obviously the family first. And I realized that this is such a valuable tool. There are some nonsense out there online because there are basically two systems, the Western and the Eastern system. I'm not dissing the Eastern system, but they do have instances where they say you have lucky and unlucky features, which I don't agree with because we have our own will and we can change anything that we decide to change. So that borders a little bit on fortune telling, although people do think I'm psychic because of the accuracy that I do the personality analysis. But I can tell you I'm not psychic and anybody can learn how to read a face.
Wow. I'm a little bit self-aware right now. I don't know about you, Maré and Mary, because I'm sitting here thinking, you're looking at me, Marthie, thinking exactly what's going on in my mind. Is that literally what it is? You look at somebody and within a few seconds, you've summed them up.
Yes, 100%. And I also get basically two reactions. Some people say, oh, what do you see? And other people say, don't look at me. So those are the two basic reactions that I get. But I am not judgmental. And that is the one thing that I teach people as well when I do training is do not be judgmental. The reason why you learn how to read a person's face and to learn more about that person is to get to know them, to know how to approach them. I can, for instance, see that your eyebrows are fairly straight, and that means that you want to hear the facts. You're not interested in Joey's little grandson and what he did and which day it was that he did it. Just give me the facts of the story, and that is, you're more comfortable with that.
That is 100%. I can have some time for small talk, and I'll always be polite and pleasant. And I think being in radio my whole life, you also learn that you need to do that. You have to break down any barriers, but you are spot on. Don't waste my time. Straight to the point. Wow. You were able to deduce that from my eyebrows.
Yes, and I can also see that your ears are fairly small. So I would not tell you a long story. I would keep it short and sweet because after about the fifth sentence, you would just shut down and not hear the rest.
It depends on the content though, because if it's interesting, and any of
Definitely.
my friends will tell you this, I can talk and will listen for hours. But the
Yes, yes,
moment there's a slight disinterest, I find my mind wandering off into the ether.
yes, no,
Yeah.
definitely.
But thank you for the compliment for saying I have small ears. I, I hate to think of what your assessment would have been if we had King Charles here at the moment.
Yeah, King Charles with his large ears means that he can listen for very long. Now, the challenge is that when you have large ears, you are a good listener, but people tend to waste your time because you tend to let people just go and keep on telling their
Mm,
stories, and it's difficult to for some people to say, listen, I really enjoy the conversation, but I need to be somewhere else or whatever. And then it also comes down to, I don't really want to listen, and then you may actually try and avoid the person next time because they were wasting your time. So if you know that you are prone to listen a little bit longer than needed, then
mm,
you can find ways to tell people, I cannot listen for this long to you. Um, I need to be somewhere else, or you can try and change the topic in a very diplomatic manner. So it's also very good to know yourself. And that is the whole purpose of face reading for me. The personal sessions that I have with people is to remind them of who they really are,
Hmm.
because we try to live up to other people's uh, expectations so much. And we all want to be liked. We all want to be accepted. And what happens then in the end, we try to be the person that everybody else expects of us to be. And we forget who we truly are. And once well, I don't know you from nowhere, so it's the first time that I lay eyes on you, and I prefer to know as little as possible of the people that I do sessions with, so that they can't say, "Oh, but you knew this," or somebody told you that. It's I see you for who you truly are. So I unmask all those layers that you have put onto yourself to be accepted by other people.
There are so many questions that come to mind, and I certainly don't want to steal the conversation. I would like you to touch on Mareka and Mary, just in terms of what you pick up from them. But a couple of questions, if I may. The
Yes,
first question is, does this explain why we could see someone, then not see them for some time, and when we see them again, and I'm not talking about the aging process, but when we see
yes,
them again, we can look at them and think, wow, something's changed. And very often I find this is linked to something profound that's happened in their life. So, my
yes.
question, Marty, is do events, trauma, experiences in our life actually change our physicality?
Absolutely. How it works, every feature on your face represents an aspect of your personality. So when something changes over time, an aspect of your personality, it will start showing on your face. So if you give me a photograph of yourself that was taken 5 years ago, and I look at a picture that we have taken today and compare the two, I can, by looking at the features on your face that has changed, I can see what in your personality have also changed.
mm.
And it's good to change because we keep on growing as we learn and experience life. We keep on growing. And obviously, it has an impact on aspects of our personality. And that is why when you see someone after a few years and they look different, you can know that something has also changed within their personality.
And of course, we're talking here over and above the natural aging process. I remember
Yes, of
reading
course.
somewhere, as you age, it's scientific fact or biology that your nose and your ears do grow. Am I correct?
All your features can grow. The fact that why people say that only the nose and the ears grow, as you get older, you tend to have more time. So your ears can grow larger because you have more time to listen. I'm going to use an example of Michael Jackson just to illustrate how your face can change. He wanted a very narrow nose. and his nose was genetically broad. Now, the width of your nose represents how comfortable you feel within a group situation. Your nose also represents your work style. So a broad nose would say that you are comfortable to work within a group. So you're not an independent worker, you like working within a group. Now, he wanted a narrow nose, and although he was known as a solo performer, actually he was not working solo because he had a large group of dancers, choreographers, etc., working with him on his shows. So after the operation to make his nose narrower, it did not change. He was still working within the large group, so the nose grew wider again. And he went, I think, in the end for about 11 operations, but nothing have changed after each operation. He still was not working independently and solo in the true sense of the word. So the nose kept on growing until there was nothing left to work with on that nose.
Sure.
So that is one example of how if your personality does not change after have done some work on your face, then that feature will just grow back to what it was.
Wow.
Crazy.
And it sounds incredible. I was very skeptic when I read this, and I said, "Oh, come on." And once you have seen it with your own eyes, now I've been busy with this for almost 25 years, and I have seen many people and repeatedly also. So once you see the changes happening, your ears can literally shift up or down. Your nose can grow longer or shorter. Your lips can grow fuller or thinner, depending on what is happening to that personality trait represented by that feature.
And so, Marty, can I ask a question before Paul jumps in? So, what personality trait must I have to grow my lips?
You have to talk a little bit more about yourself. If I look at your mouth, your upper lip is thinner than the lower lip. And that tells me that you are not sharing your inner thoughts and feelings with many people. What is a good thing about it is that it makes your lower lip a little bit more bolder, and that tells me that you have very good persuasion skills. So there's nothing good or bad on a face. It's just a feature and it has a certain meaning. And once you know that, you can work with it. That's why I also have done the coaching course, because people come to me and there are things they want to change about themselves, but they don't know how. And then I can guide them with the coaching to transform whatever they want changed.
Sure. So, does
Yes.
people then want to transform their personality for personal development's sake or to
Yes.
change facial features?
No, well, both. It will automatically happen one after the other, but to transform, because we are not all 100% happy with who we are. We all have some hang-ups about ourselves. And wrinkles, for instance, is something that most people hate the most on their faces. And once you learn what those wrinkles mean, you will really start cherishing it. It's like medals you wear on your face. For instance, the horizontal wrinkles that is just below your eyelids, your lower eyelid, those wrinkles are called courage lines. And that means that you have gone through difficult times where you had to have courage to get through those difficult times. So if I'm in a tiff and I feel I don't know how to put the one foot in front of the other, how to get out of the situation, I gently rub over those wrinkles just to remind myself that I got what it takes to get through a difficult situation. So the wrinkles on your face is formed by repeated emotional reaction to situations. That's why we all have our unique set of wrinkles. And you can put your creams on and do your facials, etc. And you put the same cream over that area where your wrinkles appear, but the wrinkles are still there because it doesn't only come from external circumstances, it comes from the inside. So the wrinkles on your face is actually the roadmap to your soul.
Sure.
So what
Fascinating.
Wow.
about the eyebrows? Have you here? You know, the when it gets deeper. What is that?
Those wrinkles that you have, I'm going to describe it. It's wrinkles that are vertical between your eyebrows, but not touching the eyebrows. And those wrinkles tell me that you are very hard on yourself, Mary. And it can also, when it's a habit, you're a self-critic, and you can also eventually become critical of other people as well. So you want to be the best, you want to do your best every day, and you are the hardest teacher for yourself because you always want to improve, which is not a bad trait per se. But when you start being self-critical, then you should maybe think, it's not as bad. And I don't have to excel in everything that I do. Like so much for other people to excel in.
Hmm. Interesting. So, Mary,
Marty,
what's your take? Sorry, Paul.
Um, I'm not sure because it could be subconscious, maybe that I'm
Okay.
self-critical. Because consciously I don't focus on that. I always do my best, that's for sure,
Yeah.
and I always want to do my best.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you definitely if it was touching the eyebrows, it
Mm.
has a different meaning. So vertical lines touching the eyebrows mean that you have a lot of frustration that you suppress. And the beauty of that is with every wrinkle you that appear on your face, you get a talent gratis and verniet from above. So those wrinkles touching the eyebrows mean that although you are suppressing your frustration or anger, it also makes you diplomatic. So you can send someone to hell in such a way that they would look forward to the trip. So it's good to know that there's something good coming from wrinkles as well. But when you keep on suppressing your anger and or frustration, it's not good for your health. So I often tell people with those wrinkles that they should find a way to consciously get rid of that frustration because it does affect your health.
Hmm.
These lines here
Uh, your lines that run from the sides of the mouth downward.
from
Are you
there,
the
talking about those?
nose.
Or from the nose of, okay,
yeah, there, that one.
right. The lines running from the nose down to the sides of the mouth, those are called your disappointment lines. And that just means that you are experiencing disappointment a little bit more intense than most people.
Hmm.
The lines running from the sides of the mouth down to the chin, though, those are empathy lines, Mary, and that tells me that you have experienced a lot of emotional pain, both in your personal life and your public life. And the beauty that comes with that is that you have empathy with other people.
Hmm.
There's also a little warning that come talk to me or is written on those lines. So you will also find that people who have just met you tend to share their personal experiences and problems with you very easily. And then you wonder, I did not sign up for this. I'm not ready for this, but yeah, that is people feel that you're open and you will understand when they share their inner thoughts with you.
Hmm. Very true.
Very interesting, eh?
Yes.
Extremely. And that last comment, Marty, leads me to another question, and that is you're able to ascertain some of our character traits and personality by looking at us. And I say us, I'm sure Marty could do it with you if you're watching or listening to this podcast now. But my question is, you have honed in on this. It's a skill. It's something you've been working on for the last few decades. The average person who hasn't been exposed to learning it consciously, are we still subconsciously looking at somebody's face and actually
Definitely.
discerning exactly what you've been speaking about now? Do we pick that up as
Yes,
humans?
we do pick that up, and once you get the hang of it, there are certain tips that I give people when I train, because once you get the hang of it, then it's very easy, because we do have a natural reaction to people. I mean, you have met people that you have never seen before, and immediately you know, I'm not going to get along with this person. Or you see someone and you think, oh wow, I would love to be this person's friend. So what basically happens subconsciously when you look at that person that you don't like at first sight, there may be something on that person's face that is accentuated, um, and is a mirror image of something that you don't like about yourself. So over the years, I have learned that those people that I don't like on first sight, to move closer to them, and I know I can learn a lot from that person. Learn that this is not how I want to be. It's okay. It's also okay. But when you hone into those persons, then you might as to what you can learn from that person, because it is a type kind of a mirror image that you're looking at.
Mareka, I don't know if you had a question. I'm keen to just touch on the eyebrows very briefly
Mm.
because it seems to have been the focus. You opened up, Marty, by commenting on mine. You've spoken about Mary's. I'd like to hear about Mareka's. But while you're doing that, one of the obvious questions that comes to mind for me is the aesthetics from a female perspective, because most ladies I know shape their eyebrows in some way. Mine
Yes,
tend to get a bit bushy, and my wife grabs a pair of nail scissors now and then and gives them a trim. But generally, they, on a man, they are what they are, where a lady seems to be far more focused on shaping them. And you referenced the shape of a
yes,
person's eyebrows. How does
yes.
that come into play?
There are so many features on the eyebrows that we can look at the spreading of the hairs, the shape, the height of the eyebrows, etc. I just want to stop a moment on your bushy brows. Tell your wife she's doing herself a favor, because bushy brows belongs to the devil's advocate. So you are maybe prone to ask a lot of questions. And if your wife perhaps have thin eyebrows, she may experience it as criticism and not curiosity. Because someone with bushy eyebrows has a way of looking at any matter in a 360-degree angle, where most of us only look at the 180-degree at anything we encounter. So she's doing herself a favor, because it calms down that uh, maybe the 40 questions come down to 20 questions when she trims it. Okay, but looking at, I'm going to compare or answer your question about the shaping that changes. Now, I'm going to first tell you what the shape. A rounded shape means that you have a sensitivity for other people. It means that when you communicate with people, you will see if they don't feel well. You know, someone would say, oh, I'm good, but you will sense, you have that sensitivity for people, and you will sense that they're not actually feeling that well. So you are focused on people. When you communicate with someone with rounded eyebrows, you can bring in some personal confirmations as well, and say, oh, you know, my mother used to use this medicine and it really worked for her. Where a person with straight eyebrows is not interested whether it has worked for your mother or not. So let's take the same example for straight eyebrows. When I communicate with someone with some of the straight eyebrows, I would give them the facts and state to the logic of it. So when I talk about the new medicine that we have tried, I would say what the medicine can do, and what the ingredients are, for instance. And this is why it is so effective for this condition, for instance. And then people with angled eyebrows, where there's a real angle in the eyebrow, and also it's relative on a scale of 1 to 10. If there's a little angle, it's a little bit less, but if it's a very huge angle, it's a 10 out of 10. And then that person tend to want to manage everything around him. He wants to be in charge of the situation. So you don't tell that person what to do. You will approach a person with angled eyebrows in a manner of, well, there are many choices. I personally think that this choice is best, but it's for you to decide. So you let that person then feel in control of the situation.
Hmm.
The
Fascinating.
thickness of the eyebrows is also important. I just want to add that is because we were talking about cosmetics. So if you have, for instance, a lady to the salon with very thick eyebrows, and she decide, I want thin brows now. Now, the thick brows meant that she was focused on details. Is on the eyebrow, the more details you need to give. So that's a thumbs up to remember. And person with very thin brows just want to know the bottom. If I go into too much details, you would lose a bit of interest because your brows are a little bit thinner and you just want the bottom line. If you want to know more, you will ask. So we also need to know that if a person changes from very thick brows to very thin brows, what will happen is they would actually be a bit confused for a while until they have made these thin brows part of them and continue keeping it thin, because then they would think, I don't need all this info anymore. I just want the bottom line. So that will have an effect on how much information they need at one time.
Okay.
So it does work both ways.
Yes,
In other words,
definitely.
as my behavior inside changes, the representation on my face will change. My ears, you
Yes,
said, or nose can grow or move, or my eyebrows can change. And then
yes,
it works the other way as well. In other words, if, as in the case with Michael Jackson, if I were to cosmetically change something, shave my eyebrows off, trim
yeah,
my ears, and I'm sure there are a myriad of other things, are you
yes.
saying that that directly then would impact our personalities, Marty?
Definitely, definitely
Ah.
that aspect that was changed, not your whole personality, but that aspect that is represented by that feature. And you must also remember, it wouldn't change overnight. You wouldn't suddenly wake up tomorrow morning and be a different person. It has to become definitely a part of your personality. So either way around, it has to become a part of your personality, which takes a while because we are creatures of habit, and we don't just decide today that we're going to be a different person tomorrow. It takes time to integrate it into your personality.
Does your facial study take into account the hair?
Well, the hairline, because that determines how large your forehead is. So what is interesting, when men have their hair and they became bald, then I usually just ask them to lift their brows, because what is interesting, when they lift their brows, there's a little dimple that forms right where the hairline used to be. It is not exactly with everybody, but most men that has lost their hair has that dimple where the hairline used to be. So, when you can't see a feature properly, then you move on to something else. Because you have to take into account all the features on the face. The book that I've written is called Your Face Puzzle. And I've chosen that name because, just like I told you something about your eyebrows now, that's not completely who you are. There are so many more aspects that forms Paul. So we can't just look at one feature and say, oh, Paul is like this. But when Paul communicates, I can say, yes, he needs the facts. He's not so focused on people per se, although there is a roundness in your brows as well, but typically more straight than rounded.
Sure.
So we have
Would
to
have
take
thought.
into account all aspects of the personality to form complete, comprehensive analysis.
So, Marty, I've got, I think, two final questions. The first one is, if I look, we've talked about, profiling in terms of personality. So we have had a few other guests that use other tools. Have there ever been a comparison in terms of the accuracy of this tool? Because I'm thinking, when you do an assessment, we don't always know ourselves 100%.
Yes.
We might think that we know ourselves, but our face is something that we don't even know. I feel this probably one of the most accurate, tools to understand yourself.
Yes. I have compared it. For instance, the brain profiling also tells a lot, and there are so many comparisons that I can put together. Kobus Neetling from the I've done my training with them.
Yes.
And we were at a reading festival. And what happened there, the organizer thought that Kobus and I could present something together because we both do profiling. Now, I have met Kobus 10 minutes before the presentation because he was overseas and he only returned the previous night. So we met literally 10 minutes before the presentation. And the presentation was done in such a way, and I didn't know too much about brain profiling then. It was done in such a way that it looked as if we have done this together for years, because I could immediately, because you also see personality traits from the brain profiling, because there you learn why your behavior is like this or that, and so forth. And the same with the face profiling. So there are so many links, and even with your other systems that I may not call names now, there is a lot of value in it. The only thing that I prefer about the face profiling is that when I fill in a questionnaire about myself and they ask a question, it's often a case that if I'm at work, I would choose this answer, but when I'm at home, I would choose a different answer.
Yes.
And that is always difficult with these personality tests. Now, with face profiling, when the face is divided into a left and right hand side, your left side of the face represents your personal side. It is your private persona, how you act at home when you're with family and friends. And the right side of your face represents your public persona, how you act when you're socializing and when you are at work. Now, we don't need to display the same personality traits in both areas. Our faces is not symmetrical. So you will see that your one ear, I'm not talking about you personally, Marika,
Yes.
but one ear may be higher than the other, and one eyebrow may be a different shape than the other one, etc. And that is why. If I can pick on you, Marika,
Yes,
while
you
we're on the
can.
topic, I can see that in your work, if I had to cut a photograph in half when you look straight into the camera, your nose will be narrower on the right side than on your left side. So that tells me that you are an independent worker. You don't like to disappear within a group. Group that you have here together is small enough to still be comfortable in. But at home, you can work with more people. You are more people when working on a project.
That's very interesting and true, because I always wondered about that.
I can also see that you are a bit of a hoarder. If I look at the tip of your nose, you find it difficult to throw things out. There is some other collection in the house that you can't get yourself to throw away.
Yes, I've got stacks of papers like workshops and things and webinars that I've attended the last 10, 15, 20 years, and I can't get rid of them because there's valuable information on them. So it's just in my cupboard. At least I'm not a hoarder in other sense, in the house. But yes, that is definitely true. Another final question is, you said about, if you work with a person, you uncover their true self. Now, so let's say, for example, you try to live up to other people's expectations. You you don't live according to your own personality, that should have an effect on your facial features. So to what extent is your facial features telling a story about who you actually should be or who you really authentically are versus the changes that happen because you try to be something or someone else?
I understand. Look, once you keep a front and by trying to live up to other things, it will definitely have an impact on your personality. But when I remind you of your talents, you know, there was a lady, as an example, who wanted to start a new business, and her husband and everybody else around her told her, "Oh, you won't be able to do that. You don't have it in you." And then she got divorced after a while, but not because of that. But then she did go out and started a new business after she's seen me, because I told her, "You have so much perseverance." And she also had a dedication line. That's a single vertical line between the eyebrows. Now, when you have a dedication line, it means that you let nothing stand in your way when you have set a goal for yourself. So you go like a freight train from A to B without stopping. And she had all the possibilities to make a success with her new business. And then after her divorce, she actually went out and started a business, and she succeeded, and she still has the business, and she actually proved everybody wrong. So she said I gave her some courage to tell her that, but I have what it takes, and I don't need to listen to people around me to believe in myself. So the best part for me during a session is the eyes that get a bit wider, to say, but how did you know this? Because this is actually who I am. And everybody tells me that I'm not that, or I can't be that. And you know, it's wonderful to know that you can be your true self. It's actually such a waste of time to try to live up to other people's expectations, because no matter what you do, you will always have people liking you and always have people not liking you. If you change to please some of those people, you will still have other people liking you and some who don't like you. So stop wasting your time.
Can't please everyone all the time. Isn't that the saying, hey?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And South
Sure,
Africans
Marty.
are prone to do that because we mostly have rounded chin shapes. And that means that we take people into consideration when we make decisions, and usually put other people first. How would they feel? How would it influence them when I make this decision? And we keep forgetting about ourselves. And it's better to make a decision that's beneficial for yourself and the other person, so that you have a win-win situation and you don't feel, oh, I always have to step back to the other person. And one day, when you keep on doing that for years, you will wake up one day and say, enough now, now it's my turn. And then you get maybe a bit bitchy, you know. So it's better to find a win-win situation when making decisions with your rounded chin shape.
Yes.
You touched on something there. We're a little bit out of time, so we won't go into the detail, but you've touched on something there where I'm guessing from a cultural perspective, you could have a look at various cultures around the world, and where there is a cultural behavior or a way that people live in a belief system, you will find that faces within that cultural group could probably have a lot of similarity.
Yes, definitely, but it's not because they are um, part of a specific culture. It's because of the behavior and what they do. It's not because the skin is a different color, or you fall in this or that group. Because the features on the face stays the same for throughout culture, race, gender, doesn't matter. When a feature means something, it means the same on every face. So, but you do see similarities because of the behavior of different cultures, yes.
What an incredibly fascinating topic. I don't know if you have any
Yes.
final questions, Mary or Mareka, for Marty.
I just wanted to know when do people realize that they need to become authentic? Is it different for everyone, or
It is
is
definitely different for everyone. I think when you get a bit older and wiser, you start realizing it, because we are really wasting such a lot of time to try and be a second-hand version of someone else, because you see someone and say, oh, I want to be like that, and or people around you always expecting something of you, and you try to please them. But I think when you get older, you also get a bit wiser, depending on your life experience. When you go through hard times, you learn faster. So I embrace hard times, because I know there's a lesson to be learned. And that same issue will keep on returning to me until I've learned that lesson. So hard times is not always negative. We can learn such a lot from it, especially afterwards. During that period, it's not always so nice to be in the situation, but we do learn, and that's how we grow. And it's necessary to grow. You know, often people say, oh, you're not the man or woman that I married 20 years ago. And then I say, hallelujah. They should not be that man or woman that you married, because that would mean that they haven't learned or grown in these 20 years. So it's a wonderful thing when people come to me and they say, oh, we want to do a compatibility consultation because I don't know this person anymore. And then I say, what a new, wonderful adventure lies ahead. Because we should embrace change. It should be a positive experience.
Yeah, which very often we find to be completely the opposite. We're scared of change. We're stuck in our ruts. But
And we
Marthie,
become
thank
very
you.
comfortable in our discomfort.
Yeah, that's true. And all we need to do is step outside of that circle, even for just a minute, to take a few breaths and realize, wow, this is actually better.
Yes, and life is an adventure.
You've really been so informative and you've explained things so well today, Marthie. Thank you. I hope that for you, if you are watching this or listening to this, I hope that it has tickled your interest as it has mine. I think, ladies, I'm going to find myself walking around the shops, checking out the heights of people's ears and the shapes of their eyebrows. But aside from that, jokes aside, yeah, it's been a very interesting and a fascinating topic. I've learned a lot. Marthie Maré, who is from Profile Works Personal Development Solutions. As always, Mareka, I assume the links will be in the description, hey?
Definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us as our guest in this edition of the Coaching Hour podcast, Marthie. Ons waardeer het. And we do hope to chat with you and connect with you sometime soon again. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us.